Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Last week I did a video about housing in Canada, how expensive it's become, how it's basically unaffordable to buy a house in this country, at least in a lot of the bigger cities. There was a lot of people who have questions about, how much it costs to live in Canada or how much it would cost to buy a house in a certain city and how much money they would need to make every year to pay for that. And I love numbers and I love budgets. So I created one that I'm going to share with you all today. Okay, so here's the spreadsheet I put together. I'm going to put the link to this from my Google Drive in the description of this video so you guys can go ahead and use this as a template. You can just kind of copy paste it or something like that into your own spreadsheet if you want to use it. I've broken it down into two areas. So first over here, we have the monthly budget. Okay. And so those add up to different numbers and you can kind of see how much things will cost. I haven't slotted all the numbers yet, so we'll do that together and we'll get proper values. And then over here, I have all the research that I did onto average home prices and rental expenses. So, just right here, you can see the different cities and provinces that I did, right? So I tried to cover most of the big places. And then here is the average house price. And then I provided sort of the date and a link to where I got the information from. You can see here Vancouver for a detached house. That means a house that's not connected to any other house. It's just over 2 million. So 2,145,000. And if you were to purchase or mortgage that house, it would cost you $10,000 a month to pay for it. Your mortgage. Now, I put down here a link to the mortgage calculator that I used. There's different ones for each province, so you can just, when you click it, you can just go and switch to province. It's very simple, and you can get a different value per province. But what I assumed with these mortgage numbers is that the mortgage is for 25 years. So that's generally the max you can get a mortgage for now. At one point, we were able to get mortgages for 30 years or 35 years, and that the interest rate is 5.04. That interest rate is probably a little bit better than most people will get, just because it assumes you had perfect credit rating. You might be up to 6 or 6.5%, depending on your credit rating. We can run those numbers as well, but just let you know that's how I got these numbers here. And it assumes that you're locking in that mortgage rate, so a fixed mortgage rate for 5 years, and you put 10% of the purchase price down. So thinking about a home, let's say $330,000, you put 10% down, which is what? $33,000. Now, there is an exception. For Vancouver and Toronto, because the house prices are so expensive, they require you to essentially put down 20 or 25%. I went with the 25% number. So this assumes that on the house in Vancouver, that costs $2.1 million, you put down 25%, which is $500,000, basically. A little bit more than $500,000, so a little bit more than $500,000. I also provided an income tax calculator down here. This again is very simple. Per province, it changes. So somebody who makes $100,000 a year in Alberta might have a little bit more money than somebody who makes take-home money than somebody who makes $100,000 in Ontario, because Ontario has a higher tax rate. So depending what province in Canada you work in, the amount of money that you take home after taxes will vary. Even though you might essentially be making the same amount, like your friend makes $100,000, you make $100,000, but you might take home an extra $5,000-$10,000 because of where you live than they do. All right, so I started filling in one scenario here. So we're just throwing one person making $110,000. So after your income tax, after your CPP, Canada Pension Plan, and after your unemployment insurance payments, you would be getting $6,644. So over here, we can put in what we think mortgage would be. We'll do a couple examples. We'll do one with mortgage, one with rent. I'm probably just going to use an example here that was relevant to me. So when I lived in Winnipeg, literally the house I owned was, I think it was like 415,000. So I'm going to put in that average price here of $2,412. That would be the monthly payment. Then the property tax. So something you got to consider when you buy a house is you have to pay property taxes. Okay? So I remember what my property taxes were because I hated paying them, but it was about $4,800. So we'll just put $400. 400 times 12 is 4,800. So your property tax is $400. Now house rent, we're not going to use this one because we're not renting, we're owning this property. So we're not going to put any value there. So for your gas and electricity, 200 is probably kind of low. I would say if this is like a 3-bedroom house, basically, detached house, you're probably in the 300 to 400 range. Kind of depends, if it's winter, you're using gas obviously to heat your house or electricity to heat your house. And if it's summer, you're probably going to have air conditioning on because it'll be hot. Maybe we'll go safe bet. We'll go somewhere in the middle. We'll put 350. Then water and sewer, about $100 a month is pretty normal. Keep in mind these numbers, your electricity and gas and your water and sewer, will change depending on how many people are living there. So I actually put this number in sort of based on myself. So electricity could go up a bit more with another person. I wouldn't expect it to go that much higher just because, a fridge is always running, air conditioning is always running, regardless if there's, one person in the house or 5. So it'd be more like if everybody has computers and TVs and that type of thing, then you can see it going up even more. If you got two people living there, maybe add an extra $50 to each thing. That might be reasonable, something along that lines. Food. I normally spend roughly $800 a month on food. Now, I do eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. Want to be skimpy? You could get it down to $600. Clothes, I put $100 a month. Usually I buy some clothes every 3 months or something. I'll spend $300. So I'll buy some clothes here. That's kind of reasonable for me. Again, you can figure that out on your own, but this is kind of necessities, right? You need to have clothes. My internet bill is exactly what I put there. So $1,103.95. That's kind of like unlimited internet. It's like fiber 1G or something. So, or 1 gig. You could downgrade that if you want to a slower one. You'd probably be cheaper. Maybe you get it for $80 a month, something like that. Phone bill. This is what I pay for my phone bill. Okay, so you can see here our total expenses, right? So with this mortgage, blah, property tax, etc., utilities, we're right now, our total expenses just to live is $4,157. Over on this side, these are things I'm thinking as, extra things that you don't necessarily need to have, but, you might have as an expense. Okay, so car payment, I put in here a $35,000 car, like a new car, $35,000. It's a Toyota Corolla. It's a small car. I think it's, if it's not the smallest, it's the second smallest car that Toyota offers. And I picked a little bit higher model tier because $35,000 for a vehicle, most people's vehicles are in the 30 to 40 range. Over 6 years, if you financed it, it's going to be $550. And what financing means is technically you own it, you're just paying it over 6 years. There's also the option to lease your vehicle, which will reduce your payments, but you don't actually own the vehicle. So at the end of the 5 years, 6 years, whatever your lease is, you will have to give the vehicle back, and then you would be leasing it again. The car insurance for this vehicle, so I went and got a quote, and this is literally for my area, so this is in Calgary. It is $212. Now, you can kind of fiddle with the numbers, and you can say, I want higher coverage, lower coverage. You can change, if you get in an accident today and you, damage your car severely and they have to replace the side door, you can you can change the deductible you'll pay. So when you get to an accident, they'll say, hey, you have a deductible, so we'll cover everything up to or everything above the deductible. So if your deductible for like any sort of claim is $1,000, you are required to pay $1,000, and then they'll cover any amount over that. So you can fiddle with it. You can make your deductible like $3,000. So then if you get into an accident or something, you'll have to pay $3,000 and they'll cover anything over that. So as you play with the number, you can kind of raise or reduce this value. So when my deductible is $1,212 a month, but when my deductible was $500, I think it was $222. So it would save me like $10. Okay, car gas. If you are driving to work, if you're driving 10, 15 kilometers to work, probably every day and like other things that you do, probably you're going to spend $150 in gas. Kind of depends, where you live, because gas prices are different and how fuel efficient your car is. This could actually be a bit less. Actually, this is a Corolla. Maybe I should probably downgrade this because I'm assuming a Corolla is going to be pretty good on gas. And you can even get like hybrids, right? So maybe we'll say 100 because we got a very fuel efficient car here. It's a small car. Entertainment budget. How much are you going to spend on entertainment? I just put $200 a month. This would be things like, your Netflix subscription. If you go to the movies, if you, do some concert with your friends. Restaurants, this is different than food. Food is groceries. Food is like things you're going to have at home and you're going to cook at home. Restaurants are when you go out. Here in Canada, generally, when you go out to eat at a restaurant, if it's just like me by myself going to a sit-down restaurant, or maybe I'm with friends and I'm just paying for myself, whatever, generally it's going to cost me $50. That's about like a normal cost. Maybe you can pay a bit less, just getting your meal and you're having like no drinks, no appetizer, no dessert. You're just getting a plate. Then you probably can lower it to like $35, $40. Here in Canada, we have a thing called tipping. So whenever you go out to eat, you have to tip the waitress or waiter. So if your meal costs, $30, you're generally tipping 15% is kind of the norm. 10 is like the low end, 20, 25 is the higher end. So if you think that on $30, 15%, you're tipping basically almost $5. Well, $5. So then all of a sudden your meal becomes $35, and then you add your taxes into that. Dentist, if you are an employee, you probably have dental coverage, so this might not matter. But for me, since I'm self-employed, I do not have dental coverage, so I put in $75 a month. In this case, we're just going to assume this person has dental coverage. Usually it's like 80%. You might end up paying, when you go for your dental cleaning, $60 to $80, something like that. So if you think of this, every 6 months you go to the dentist, at least that's what's normal here. It'd be like $10 a month, or maybe we could say $12 a month. I have pets. I have 2 dogs, so I have pet food in here. Maybe you don't, so you can take this out. So if you have life insurance or some kind of insurance, you might want to put it there. I did, so I had it in there, but I'll take that out. I have transit pass in here. This assumes that if you're paying for like a transit pass to get around, take the bus and the train and stuff. Likely, if you have a car, though, you're not going to do that. So for now, we're going to remove that. We're going to put it to 0. I think that's about the main things. If there's something else, you want to add, maybe you want to get really specific with your entertainment costs. Maybe your Netflix is there, and your Netflix is, $12.99. So you're going to put a thing in here for Netflix, right? You might do that. But, I just included entertainment. But if you want to, obviously, go ahead. Okay, so just looking at our overall expenses from what we have here, with a car, gas, etc., insurance, entertainment, restaurants, dentist, we're paying $1,274 a month. Now, automatically, we've calculated in, okay, here we're making $110 a year. We are paying this much in mortgage, blah, 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 for the house. And this is the total amount of our expenses. So we can see the total expenses down here, $5,432. And then over here is how much money you will have left after the expenses. So that takes the total amount of money you make, your total expenses, and comes up with a number. This assumes like, you don't have any credit card debt. So if you had credit card debt, you might want to add that in here. Credit card, and maybe you're paying, I don't know, maybe not 500, maybe you're paying 250 a month. So everything weighs on you. So try obviously not to get credit card debt. But you can see here you would have left over 1,200, and this assumes that you stick to this budget. But this also assumes that you're making 110 a year. Okay, and let's do a scenario here where you're actually renting. If we take I have here a 3-bedroom house, 2-bedroom apartment, or 1-bedroom apartment. You can kind of just look across at the numbers and see if you were going to rent an apartment, it's better just to get a roommate. Because instead of paying $1,550 yourself, you could pay $750. Well, you and your roommate pay $750, which is quite a bit cheaper. You might pay a bit more on utilities, but you're going to split that anyways, which is actually going to save you money. Or you could just rent a house, rent a 3-bedroom house, get 2 roommates, so there's 3 of you in the house. And even then, that's going to be cheaper. You're going to be paying like $620 or $615 each. So that's even cheaper. Thing is, though, I will say when you're living in a house, you got to consider that you have to do, snow shoveling. That's a Canada thing. You have to like mow the lawn. You have to take care of the property. Although, if it is a rental, they should be doing all the heavy maintenance, but you got to keep it clean. Like there's a little bit more work to do. But it is a rental, so if things break, somebody else fixes it, opposed to if you own it and your stove breaks, well, hey, you got to fix it now. So call the repairman or buy a new stove, which is going to cost you like, I don't know, $800, $1,000. All right, so let's use the example here that actually you were kind of like cool, and you and your friend were like, hey, you know what? We're going to rent this apartment for $150. So we're going to get rid of this mortgage. We're going to get rid of property tax fees. We're going to go here. We're not going to put $1,500 because we're saying we have a roommate. So we're splitting. So we're doing $750. Your electricity and gas, let's just think of it from our own perspective. Okay. So maybe it's going to be similar, 150, 200. So you pay your half. So let's just say it's $100. And then water, sewer, it's going to be a bit more because there's a second person there. But let's just say it goes to 100, but your half is 50. So we put in 50. We're keeping your food a little bit lower. Obviously, you can adapt that as you wish. Car payment, we're saying you got a car. Okay, so you got a car, you got your restaurants, you got whatever, your dentist again. And then over here, we're going to get rid of the second person. Okay, so we're putting 0 because you're one person. And this is what it would look like if you were making $55,000 a year and you were sharing a room or sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. You'd have $450 left. Pretty tight, right? That's not nearly enough money. Okay, and then you could fiddle with this. I don't know, maybe get rid of your car, like we said, right? You don't have a car anymore. And then we put in like a bus pass or a train and bus transit pass. And obviously then you end up with a lot more money. So you can see like having a vehicle, having a car, which going to have maintenance costs too, right? Which I didn't even go into. You got to think of your gas, oil change, tires, any damages and things that might happen. Obviously things are more expensive. Wear and tear happens to your vehicle. So you can see if you just take the bus, $1,220 left. But now let's say, hey, you're extra smart and you got a 3-bedroom house with 2 roommates or more. Maybe one of your roommates has a girlfriend and they're living together too. So there's 4 people in a 3-bedroom house because they're sharing a room. So we can split this up here. Split up $1,850 into 4, right? Because we're saying somebody has a girlfriend or whatever as a roommate. That's $462.50. So now your cost of electricity and water is basically going to be kind of the same-ish. So we're not going to change anything there. And actually, you know what? I forgot to change this last time, but if you're splitting internet with other people, this cost will go down. So you would think maybe you're paying, between 4 people, you're paying $25 because you're all splitting internet. And now you're taking the bus, right? So now you're at $1,587. So you can see, what is that? Was it like $400 difference or so that you saved? So, I mean, obviously, if you can live with more people, it's better. But it also means, sharing your space. So, something to consider. Okay, I'll leave it there, guys. I just want to run through this so you guys could see what it's all about, how to do some budgeting. Now, may have more or less things you're going to put in here, but I find this really helpful. I have a budget for myself that I use. I'm generally pretty good at sticking to it. If you can do it, you can see here that there's a lot of benefits to having a budget, because it's going to help you see, like, how much money do I need to have? How much money do I need to make in order to live in Canada in a certain area, etc. I hope you use this tool. I hope it helps you. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next time.